We're back with episode 15. This week, a train broke down, another one fired up, and a model railroad has to move.
This is Railroad Showcase.
After more than 20 years, more than 100 of the Melbourne Metropolitan Transit Corporation's trams are starting to be moved out of their storage sheds and into new life. The trams, many dating back to the early 30s, are being sent all over Australia to be restored and used for a variety of purposes. Even though there was great interest in the acquisition of these historic streetcars, the process of clearing them all out is still expected to take over 2 years, each car individually needing to be lifted onto trucks for shipment. After all the cars are cleared, all Melbourne needs to do is to decide what to do with the sheds.
Women teaching women. Female train drivers and firemen will be teaching steam and mechanical skills to other women at Perrygrove Railway in the UK on June 22nd and 23rd. Organizer Megan Charman is a fireman on the Welshpool and Llanfair Railway in Wales. Activities and demonstrations will include railway engine firing and driving, blacksmithing, classic car mechanics, road engine handling, tractor driving, and much more. The event is held under the auspices of WES, the 100-year-old Women in Engineering Society. For more information, links can be found in our show notes.
For more than 70 years, the Bay Ridge Modelling Railway Club lived in the basement of an apartment building. In February of this year, however, they received an eviction notice. The aging building needed extensive repairs to its heating pipes, and the Scale Railroad just couldn't stay without blocking the work. While the club's members were saddened at needing to abandon their location, a few recalling being children when they first saw it in the 50s, they quickly set to finding a new space to relocate to. With the help of the local community and donations from all around, they found a new home. 120 miles north, the Trolley Museum of New York in Kingston will house the layout. It's going to be a long process, but they hope to reopen the layout in early 2020.
The Potomac Eagle Scenic Railroad has come under new ownership as it starts its 29th season. The Railroad Investments Corporate Holdings of North Carolina purchased the railroad's parent company, Eagle Canyon Passenger Car Company. The president and vice president of RICH, the Franzens, have nearly 40 years in the railroading community, and both the community and the current managers of the railroad are confident in the potential growth that this change has brought about.
Operation Lifesaver just released its statistical findings for the year of 2018, and unfortunately, deaths due to trespassing have risen 12%. The organization was founded in 1972 by Union Pacific and has worked hard, with measurable success, to help prevent public injury and deaths by trains. Recently, some of their new campaigns have been specifically focused on raising awareness for the dangers of trespassing. Remember, the best way to stay safe on the tracks is to not be on them at all.
The Slim Princess, Southern Pacific Narrow Gauge number 18, broke down on the Durango and Silverton on April 9th. The right piston broke apart, a hole was knocked in the cylinder head, and the cover came off at the same time. On the Railway Preservation News site, user Finderskeepers posted some revealing photographs. On the Narrow Gauge discussion forum, Olaf Rasmussen, who was evidently on hand during the incident, led the conversation. His detailed account and up-close photographs told a grisly tale of broken metal. Fragments of the broken piston could clearly be seen inside the cylinder. The crew needed to remove the head so the engine could be moved. Diesel number 9 was brought in from Rockwood to move the train into a siding. Jeff Taylor, curator of Carson and Colorado rolling stock, posted, "It is believed that a partial ring failure caught a port and destroyed the piston. The piston fragments then punched a hole in the cylinder head." Trains magazine has an exclusive video of the very moment the piston and cylinder head failed. The sound it made was the stuff of nightmares for a steam engineer. If you want to see and hear that video, go to trains.com. The direct link is in our show notes.
I saw that video, and seeing the pictures, it just makes me cringe. It's such a shame that happened.
It is. It's a real shame, and no steam program wants to have that kind of a failure, especially when you've got paid passengers on board. But in one sense, it's also a little bit of a victory too, because it showed how well they could deal with the problem. It's not like anyone was stuck out on the line for days. It did take a while to get it cleaned up, and the guys who work with the 18 said that if this had to happen, they were actually glad that it happened at Durango, because they've got such a well-equipped shop. They are going to be able to overcome this problem and get the engine running again in really short order.
Right. It's a very serious problem. This isn't a small deal, but it's not the end of the world. The engine will run again.
Oh yeah, it's not the end of the world. They'll be up and running in no time. The second longest monorail in the world is in Osaka, Japan. Since the monorail is such a unique track method, it requires some unique methods for switching, and there's several different ways that this is accomplished. In this complex configuration, the moving segments of track allow for 4-track switching with just 2 pieces of intermediate track.
So, in the last few years, along with pretty much everyone else, the railroads have gotten on board with the technology of drones. Now, we know that not everyone's happy with how they have been or can be used, but for this particular purpose, I think it's pretty cool. UP has a really interesting page focused on how they use the drones for maintenance, and have some really interesting pictures and a great video giving a basic outline of what they want to achieve with them. So, one of the primary use of these drones is, as I said, for maintenance inspection. There's a minimum number of track inspections that the railroads have to make each year, which has always needed to be done manually. Now, though, they don't always have to be. With the advancements of the tech in drones, they can fly over miles and miles of track without the need for a person to be there. This also allows for more inspections of bridges and other structures that are difficult to inspect in person. I love drones and other technology like it, and I look forward to seeing how we continue advancing with that, both in the railroad industry and not.
Can they eliminate the manual inspections altogether?
Well, no, because there's always going to be a need for that human element that will be able to detect more than what the camera can in certain ways. But for a general overview of making sure that there's no defects, no major flaws in the rail, for some of the inspections, that can be completely handled by the drone.
One of the other things that I really appreciated, though, is the drone, when you're doing bridge inspection, the drone can get images that are not humanly possible.
Yeah, the railroads have been partnering with different companies, so it's not just a standard drone that you'd pick up at the store. They're actually being modified aftermarket by these companies that equip them with sensors that can go in and not just take a picture of the bridges and the structures, but can also do small-scale scans of the integrity of the material. All right, so today we have a video that was produced by ISO 8 TV or .TV on YouTube. It's entitled "A Day of Steam in SANDAOLING Coal Mine," and they did a really nice job with it. Between their use of light and the clear skill in framing the shots, this was really enjoyable to watch. For years, China has been the last holdout for the use of steam in commercial railroading. The SANDAOLING coal mine is the last of them. As of last year, these engines were still running, but the coal mine itself is set to shut down sometime in 2020, so we're not sure if they're still active. However, we have a lot of really knowledgeable people who watch this show, so if you know, please leave a comment down below.
Everybody's talking about the Union Pacific Big Boy, and so we've got a couple of things that we want to cover just to keep up to date. The first one is sort of a bit of trivia. The 4014 is called the Big Boy, that class of engines. Having been a magazine editor, getting things correctly on paper or typed out is a little important to me. And I have seen Big Boy written out so many different ways. I wanted to find out what was actually the right way of doing it. Is Big Boy one word? Is it two words? Is it hyphenated? Is it all caps? Is big capitalized? Is boy capitalized? Anyways, so what we did is we went to Union Pacific's website because they own the engine. They have the right to decide how it should be presented in writing. So it is 2 words, big boy. It's not all caps, but both of those words are capitalized. So there you go. That's the proper way to type it out. So they fired up last week, and there has been some talk about what kind of an oil burner they're using in the 4014 and whether or not it's going to need some fine-tuning and how well it's going to steam, because that engine was originally designed to be a coal burner. And we know that decades ago, the UP successfully converted the Challenger, the 3985, from coal to oil, and that went really well. But the geometry on the Challenger's boiler and the Big Boy's boiler are considerably different. And so how well is it going to do? It'll be interesting to see. The next thing we're going to talk about is the excursion on the Big Boy. Up to this point, we knew that the Big Boy was scheduled to be going to Ogden, and it was going to be running from Cheyenne to Ogden and back, and it was going to be on display, but no one was going to get to ride behind it.
Right, just the executives, the VIPs that were part of that group.
Right, it was just going to be a business train. Mm-hmm. It was just announced that there is going to be an excursion. On May 12th, they are selling 82 tickets.
82?
82 tickets. That's it. Not hundreds and hundreds, 82. A coach seat is selling for $3,000, and a dome seat is selling for $5,000. Now, it isn't just the train ride on the 12th that you get with that ticket. On the 11th, you're going to get an extended tour of the entire train. You're going to have a meet and greet with Ed Dickens and with one of the Union Pacific vice presidents, and you will have a chance to speak with the whole steam crew. So, and of course, there has been a huge uproar over the price of the tickets, because most people simply are not going to be able to do it. But this is not a railfan excursion for Joe Fomer. Most people can't lay down $3,000 or $5,000 for a ticket. This is more like a black tie fundraiser that you would see in a big city for the opera. The dinner might be hundreds or even thousands of dollars, but it's not just about the dinner. As a matter of fact, UP isn't keeping this money. This is a fundraiser for the Gold Spike Foundation in Utah, which organized all of these activities, and for the UP Museum in Council Bluffs.
Right, and one of the things that makes this really special, as Jim Rinn from Trains Magazine pointed out, is that it's not just this is the first excursion since it's been rebuilt. This is the first excursion that 4014 has done for rail fans ever.
Well, any big boy.
Any big boy.
And so that does make it really unique.
Yeah.
So now, another thing that's making people either nervous or speculative or wringing their hands with glee over the potential failure that could happen if they've got bad feelings about the UP Steam program is the fact that it hasn't had a shakedown run yet. I mean, we are less than a month away from the festivities.
And it's the first time that we've seen fire in it.
Right. They've just lit the fire off. They haven't had a shakedown run yet. And so a lot of people are wondering, wow, isn't this a little bit risky? All of these plans and things are happening at the 11th hour. So that would make me nervous, but I'm wondering, did the UP Steam program get themselves behind the 8 ball? Are they really, really behind the schedule that they set for themselves? Or could it be that they are precisely on schedule? Maybe they deliberately have a schedule that is at the 11th hour for some reason. I don't know.
That could be it. I'm just not sure what benefit that would bring to be doing that?
I don't know. I can't guess, but
suspense has always been a good tool in literature, but I'm not sure if suspense is how you really want to draw attention to yourself with something like this.
I don't know. I just can't see into the inside of the UP STEAM program. I don't know what they're thinking. Maybe they absolutely have a handle on it, or maybe they are scrambling like crazy because it may go well and it may not. I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see. That's it for episode 15. We hope you enjoyed it. You Gold and Silver Spike members, of course, get to see the full episodes, but we still encourage you to go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel and go to the discussion group, Railroad Showcase RPO, on Facebook, and you'll find the conversations, the comments, the responses that people are giving there.
Thank you guys for joining us and enjoying the best hobby in the world. Thank you for watching.
And keep your hand on the throttle and your eye on the rail.